Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us here today. My name is Gene Quinn. We're going to get started here momentarily. We're going to give everybody a few seconds to get into the room. So thanks for coming. We look forward to having a great discussion, and we'll get going here momentarily. Just give us about 20 seconds or so to let everybody get from the ready room into the green room so we can get started. So we could probably get going. The numbers are plateaued a little bit here. I'm sure we'll get more people join us during the first few minutes here. Hello, everyone. My name is Gene Quinn. Thank you for joining us here today for this conversation about how to prompt AI. It's a workshop for patent prep and pros. We're going to talk about how you actually do it. We've got some examples to show you, and hopefully by the end of this, you'll wind up leaving with some real experience and things that you can apply into your day-to-day workflows. This is also a CLE, a free CLE webinar. We have information on the website about the states where we have applied. We've applied in Georgia, Illinois, Minnesota, Missouri, Ohio, Tennessee, Vermont, and Virginia. We're going to also apply in California, and that constellation of states where we apply gives us a whole lot of other states that give us reciprocity. I know, for example, New York is one that has reciprocity as well. So we look forward to having this conversation unfold. You all will get CLE credit who need it. And I'm going to turn it over right away so we can just get started to Renee to introduce the speakers. Renee.
Thanks, Gene. On our panel today, we have Kertie. He is Director of Intellectual Property at Applied Materials, a global leader in semiconductor and display equipment. He advises on IP risk, pre-litigation disputes, and internal investigations. Previously, Schut served as interim head of patents at Twitter, now X, and began his career at Ropes & Gray, focusing on IP litigation and patent prosecution. Next, we have Christopher Schaefer. He's a partner at Fisher Broyles, where he advises clients on patent prosecution, technology licensing and infringement, and validity analysis. Before practicing law, Chris spent nearly 20 years as a scientist and engineer, including leadership roles at Boeing and Pulse Electronics, and is an inventor on 10 patents, bringing deep technical insights to his IP practice. Next, we have Puya Part Navi Navidid. He's a partner at Schaefer Shaw, working with clients from startups to Fortune 100 companies to protect and grow their patent portfolios. A former software engineer at Symantec and an inventor himself, Puya guides innovators from early patent strategy through prosecution, combining real-world engineering experience with practical client-focused IP counsel. Next, we have Miriam Salehijam. She is the Chief Revenue Officer at Junior, with more than 15 years of experience bridging law and business. She holds a PhD in international business law and has authored a book and numerous academic publications. With a global background spanning 8 countries, Miriam brings a cross-cultural, innovation-focused perspective to growth strategy and collaboration. Next, we have Yuri Elazar. He's the CEO and co-founder of Junior and a U.S. patent attorney recognized for securing high-value litigation-tested patents. Formerly head of IP at Founders Legal, he has advised startups and global companies, including Microsoft and Cisco, and has trained USPTO examiners. Yuri combines legal, technical, and entrepreneurial experience with a background in electrical and computer engineering. And last but not least, we have our moderator, Gene Quinn. He's a patent attorney and one of the most influential voices in patent law and innovation policy. He founded IPWatchdog in 1999, which has become a leading resource for the global IP community. Gene is widely recognized for his expertise in software patentability and U.S. patent procedure, and has repeatedly been named among the world's top IP strategists. So you are in great hands with this panel. Back to you, Gene.
Great. Thanks a lot, Renee. And again, thank you all for being here. Let me explain how we're going to do things today. As always, if you have questions for the panel, please put them in the Q&A box. I'll be monitoring that as well, and we'll try and weave in as many as we possibly can. Yuri is going to be stalking the chat box, because a lot of times we get very specific questions. If you have a very specific question, please put it in the chat box. Yuri will be there answering questions for you, and we're going to have Miriam kind of lead the conversation here today. But before I kick it over to Miriam and before we send Yuri to the chat box to answer your specific questions, I'd like to give Yuri the microphone here for a minute. As the CEO and founder of Junior, Yuri, thank you, number one, for putting this on with us here today. And number two, I just wanted to give you an opportunity to let people know why it was that you wanted to have this particular conversation, which is really a part two. We did an earlier webinar leading up to this one, but take it away.
Thank you, Gene. And we got wonderful feedback from the first series. And what we learned from all of that is the patent bar attorneys, they want to learn how to prompt AI effectively. This webinar here, this series, isn't about using a particular tool. It's about interacting with large language models and even image generating models in a way that is required of us as attorneys. So it's purely educational. It's purely meant to get you up to speed to work effectively and serve your clients effectively. I got a call yesterday from a patent attorney interested in using AI for the first time. And they told me, Yuri, I have a son. He's, getting a degree in electrical computer engineering, and he was going to be a patent attorney. He wants to go to law school and become a patent attorney. What does this mean for him? Well, it's up. I don't have an answer, but I do know part of that curriculum has got to be learning how to prompt AI so that we retain independence in our practice. So thank you guys for your attention. And I believe we have a brief introductory video to show you how we prompt AI here at Junior and how many of our users are using AI as a tool to draft patents.
By now, most of us have some familiarity with prompting foundational Gen AI models. But the workflow is broken and scattered across multiple platforms, and the outputs remain inconsistent and unpredictable. Many of us in the patent bar are counting on the next generation of practitioners to lead the way in adopting AI in an effective manner. Finally, after years in development, the new Junior has arrived. Junior is your AI patent agent with the technical know-how of the premier AI models, merged with the guidelines of patent drafting established by the applicants and practitioners you train it to model. By now, most of you are familiar with the well-known chat interface, but Junior's flagship capability is in its prompt sequencer and fine-tuned patent prep and pros modeling. Junior's prompt sequencing module is designed for the technical patent draftsman with a substantial volume of work in which they have established structured guidelines for drafting based on invention type, practice group, or applicant. First, let's see how we can adapt the well-known chat-based workflow to co-work with Junior. I can select from a plurality of different models and easily toggle between them throughout the session. This gives me an instant A-B comparison of the output produced by the different models. Junior will study the context surrounding the location of my cursor and load the right underlying models to ensure a compliant output. Let's draft the background of the invention. We'll start with a specific prompt. We could also sequence multiple prompts such that Junior will execute the prompt sequence in order to fill in the complete section. We could also highlight any output and ask Junior to rewrite it. We can have a brief conversation with Junior, provide it instructions, and iterate back and forth before finally inserting back into the document. Junior allows me to fine-tune every prompt sequence parameter, including the context level and its creativity. I could also choose specialized fine-tuned models and order them in any sequence I'd like. Junior allows me to create and save various prompt sequences for each section of the patent application. I will now save the sequence of prompts and choose to make it available to my other colleagues who work on the same invention type or the same applicant so that they can quickly load and reuse these sequences for subsequent patent applications. When I have multiple colleagues working for the same patent families or similar invention types, I can use Junior's knowledge management modules to ensure their output remains consistent with the appropriate drafting guidelines for each application. For instance, I can navigate to the Rules tab in which I can input specific drafting guidelines that layer on top of Junior's patent training. Junior customizes based on various input parameters, including training materials such as priority documents, sample specification sets, and template shells. Junior uses this material to extract boilerplate language, study your syntax and structure of the draft, and reuse terms and definitions where applicable. For instance, when writing the detailed description, I can load a system sequence that is tuned specifically to the way I write about system diagrams. I can adjust the fine-tuned writing style, as well as the context and creativity parameters for each of these prompts in the sequence, and ensure that the right enabling models are covered for this invention type. Let's say you're an in-house attorney reviewing a patent application provided by your outside counsel. Or say you're a client owner at a firm reviewing a colleague's work before submitting it to your client. Junior allows you to build and load from a library of agents unique to you or shared across your company. Here, I'll run Junior's agent to check for the enablement and written description requirements. Although I should note, I could combine multiple agents to create a new agent designed to run through a combination of these sequences in any required arrangement. Let's run through the enablement review agent and make some corrections and modifications. As Junior makes its propositions, I can review them and choose to accept or reject them, injecting it into the document accordingly. And when I'm done, I click Save. This will help Junior learn from the editing session to improve the workflow of the revision process for the next time I run this agent. Junior's agents can be used for Office Action Response modules or a PCT nationalization module. For instance, here, I'm asking Junior to convert this application to EPO standards.
Great, excellent. Thank you. Thanks for that demonstration, Yuri. And I appreciate you going and spending some time in the chat answering the questions that we'll get. So if you have a specific question for Yuri, he'll be lurking in the chat. And what we're going to do now is I'm going to kick this over to Miriam to lead the discussion from here. And Miriam, while you're doing that, I'm going to publish our first poll question, I think, so we can get some feedback from the audience. And then once we collect the responses, I'll let you all on the panel know what the audience says. The question is, what is your biggest challenge when prompting AI patents? So, but Miriam, go ahead, take it away, please.
Thank you so much, Gene, and thank you to the 500 of you that are here right now live. We are so excited to engage you in our conversation. So please continue commenting your questions and comments. We would love to hear from you. As Gene and Yuri mentioned, we're here just to help you engage in a conversation around prompting, as our thesis is that prompting is going to be a future skill set that all legal professionals are going to be required to have. My role on the call today is just to make sure the conversation is flowing smoothly. So with that said, I'm going to pass it to the wonderful Chris Schaefer to start with his slides and tell you a little bit about his approach to customized and shared prompt templates with his legal team at the firm Fisher Broyles. Thank you so much, Gene. Off to you, Chris.
Thanks, Miriam. Thanks for joining. Appreciate it. Hopefully this is helpful. I'm excited to share how I use customized and shared prompt templates in my practice. Go to the next slide, please. There we go. So I'm going to take you through a brief example in a minute of how I prepare a prompt sequence, prompt template, kind of same thing, how to create the detailed description, the core of the patent application. And I'm going to show you how this template can be arranged, how I arrange it paragraph by paragraph to specifically engineer the entire flow and arrangement and structure of the application. And I continually revise this as I learn, as AI changes, and as I change, I continually revise this almost application by application to improve the results that I get. And one of the most exciting things when a lot of this is I'm directing towards a team environment. When you're working with team members in real time, you can share this template. So every time they start to draft a new application, they're using the latest and greatest template that you're fine tuning throughout drafting all these applications. And what this has resulted in over the past probably 8 or 9 months is an extremely consistent arrangement, structure, content, and flow of every application. Even if you have different clients or different technologies, you can customize the templates per client, per technology, and give it to a team member. And what you get is an extremely consistent, high quality application. And if you work in a team environment, you know what it's like to get an application and now I've got to rearrange it for structure, for flow, for content, for substantive content. And what a dream it is to get these applications and to read through it. And it's literally like reading through your own work. And it's logical, it's arranged. Now, I know a lot of it's your own personal preference, but when it's logically arranged, the content and the flow is everything as you expect it to be. Your review time significantly reduces. Even these stylistic revisions are almost nil. And what I believe is it provides my clients unprecedented level of work product, high quality work product at an extremely a good value that I've never been able to deliver before. So now I'll go into just this is a brief, next slide, please. This is a brief, very simplified example. It's kind of small here. Of how I use this prompt sequence in the detailed description. Now this is the sequence. You can see several steps here and how it creates the detailed description. I use Junior, but if you're using Typing Minds, anything else, you're going to have something different. So this is my prompt sequence that I've developed, learning how Junior interprets my commands, all the commands that it has a whole sequence of commands behind this, and how I use those commands and regulate those commands to get the output that I want. So I'll take you paragraph by paragraph, and of course this is very simplified, but the first paragraph is just simply an introductory paragraph. It's just basically cut and paste. You go to over here to the side, it says second paragraph in detailed description. AI does an incredible job. This was a example introductory transition paragraph for a photon source. I don't care if you're drafting something on an electrical circuit, it will modify the language in this transition paragraph to match the inventive concept in your application. And it does a wonderful job. I almost never have to revise this paragraph. AI does an incredible job of adapting your this is a kind of a boilerplate transitionary paragraph, but it's very technology specific, and it'll automatically integrate that into your paragraph. So if you next slide. So the next section in the left here is layman's overview. Now, like I said, Junior has a lot of prompts pre-built in. I like the layman's overview that they have in there. It generates a very good summary of the novel aspects. But what I don't like is it's very verbose. I like to keep it short, concise. I limit it to 3 paragraphs. I don't include reference numbers. And again, what I'm saying is this is a very simplified version. You can add in things like if you want to highlight, bring out all the features of independent claim 1, you can tell it to do that within the layman's summary, and it'll do it. So whatever you like or your client likes or the in-house counsel likes, you can customize this template as you're starting to hopefully see to hone the application to the specific output that you want. And then on the right side here, this is another transitionary paragraph. Again, I use this one's drafted towards a connector, I think, and it'll modify this paragraph using the novel aspects or the inventive aspects of this application. Again, it does a wonderful job of this. I barely have to edit these paragraphs. And then the next slide, which is the real core of the application of the detailed description, follow the figures. Again, what I have here is very simplified, but I hope it gives you a flavor for the type of fine tuning you can do, even stylistic fine tuning. As you can see, I like every figure to be introduced the same way. And the first 2 sentences are very similar. Figure X illustrates ABC, as shown in figure X, this and this and this. You can tell it to engineer each figure. It introduces each figure exactly that same way. And I also like in this particular sequence, I wanted the end of the claims to be enabled in figure 1. I wanted to bring that all up front, and that's the way this client likes these applications be drafted. So I tell it to do that. use the language modeled after the claims to guide the initial description. And it does that. And you'll see the claim language woven into that initial description, the very first part of it. And I also have it, like I say, customize as you learn. I need to tell it to describe every reference number in every figure. That's just something I've learned along the way to make sure I cover every reference number. A little bit of patent profanity that I keep out. And I don't like paragraph numbers in these. And so you can get a flavor for how you can engineer each one. I mean, you could also tell it in the last paragraph of the description of every figure, add this paragraph, a person of skill in the art with the benefit of this disclosure will appreciate, and then other embodiments, A, B, C, D. You can customize it to that level. On the right side is alternative embodiments. This is something pre-built prompt sequence by Junior. I like it, but I think it brings out a lot of features that I may miss or the associate who drafts this application may miss. But I think it's very verbose and it brings out, I usually end up deleting maybe 80% of this, but I think it's worth it to capture that extra 20% that I said, oh, that's interesting. I didn't think about that, or the associate didn't think about that. They didn't put that in there. Let's leave that in there. That's enabling, that's alternative embodiments that I think is value added to the client. That's a key of AI is I believe it brings a better end product to my client because it's bringing in things like this that once I read it, that's good content. That if I was the client, I'd want that in here. So I think it's a better work product, but that better work product doesn't always mean a bigger work product. A 40-page application to my client isn't of any better value if it's no substantive addition than a 20-page work product. So that's where I go through and delete a lot of this. Same thing on next slide. If you go to the novel aspects, again, it's a pre-built sequence. I like it. It brings in some features that I keep. I keep maybe 20% of this, and I delete the rest. And then the same thing with enabling hardware. There's a good background prompt sequence to this, and I think it fills in a lot of the gaps in enabling hardware that might be helpful during prosecution to disclose this to an examiner. And again, I delete maybe 80% of this, but I feel like 20% is really substantive additions that are value added to the client. So I hope by looking at this on the right-hand side here, you can see, you get a flavor. Again, it's simplified, but you can get a flavor for how you can engineer. This is the core of the application, the detailed description, paragraph by paragraph, and tailor it based on, in-house counsel likes this, or if you're an associate, you're working for a partner, they like it this way. If you were like me, I kept a template for each partner in Word, and I would cut and paste or keep boilerplate. Well, now you can engineer this and in basically one button, draft that entire detailed description exactly the way the client wants it, exactly the way the partner wants it. I found this extremely powerful in a team environment. My associates, the people helping me, can draft it exactly the way I want it. I'm ultimately responsible to the client. So my revision time has significantly decreased. I can say honestly, the last 3 applications that I just got, if you would have pushed this out a year and I would have forgotten, he said, "Did you write these?" And I would have looked at them and I would have said, yeah, it looks completely like my writing. It's exactly the way I would have wrote it. It flows, it's logical, it's coherent, it's exactly the way I would have done it. But these were first drafts from the associate. This has been incredible. So if you go to the next slide, please. So I thought it would be helpful to show how the workflow changes. And some of it's the same, some of it's quite different. So the tool that I use focuses on the claims. It prioritizes the claims, which I love because I want to draft those claims. I want those precise, every word matters. I still draft the claims, and it prioritizes that in the drafting of the application. So if you get your claims right, it's going to follow the claims. And then drafting and label the figures with reference numbers. This is incredible. I've used everything from photographs to CAD images to black and white, line drawings. And AI will recognize different features that you don't necessarily disclose in the application or in the claims, and it'll recognize that feature from a photograph. It knows what it is. And handwritten, typewritten reference numbers, doesn't matter. If you're doing a provisional, handwrite those reference numbers, it picks them up. And then what I found is extremely important with AI is what I do is I generate this reference label reference number table. I actually take this table and I type in the reference labels and the reference numbers, and I paste that into the images, the drawings that I upload, not of course what I file, but what I upload into AI and train it with. This is incredible. I mean, this eliminates, I would say, eliminates the errors with your reference numbers and what it calls it, which is huge. And it basically does it perfect. So you upload these features, you also upload other training materials, you'll learn what the AI needs. Sometimes with circuits, it may need a similar application. With semiconductors, it may need a template for some boilerplate language. We found disclosure transcript. We do meetings in Microsoft Teams. We'll upload that transcript. It's easy. You just upload the file. And what's wonderful about it is that it will pick up those additional features that the inventor disclosed and weave those into the application. And as you're going through your checklist to make sure you've got everything, wow, it got that out of the transcript. It got that out of the transcript. And it wove it in a logical, coherent sense into the application. It's truly incredible. So with all of this, you can generate the entire first draft of the application, or your associate can, with one button. And you can generate that using a prompt sequence. Now, I just showed you for the detailed description. I also have customized prompt sequences for everything from the priority paragraph to the abstract, the summary, the brief description of the drawings. I have a certain way I like those to look. It doesn't take long to engineer that. And they use that sequence so the entire application in one button is drafted the way you want it. And that's the entire team. The associate does that. Everything you get is drafted like that. Again, it's like reviewing your own work from every team member. And even depending on the level of the team member, even if they're very junior, it can be a significant improvement in the quality of work that you're getting and a reduction in that review time. So good quality input, spending your time up here, the old adage, garbage in, garbage out. Same thing here, spending that time up front on the claims. Like I've learned for circuits, I'll put in a picture claim. I won't file it with the application because it's way too specific, but I'll put in a picture claim to make sure that it knows how every element is connected. And if I do that, it comes out nearly perfect every time. So spending that time up front, also having a drawing editor, I find because the drawings are part and parcel to the application, right? So if a tool like this has the drawing editor, so once I upload the drawings and I train it on the drawings, it has an editor. I can go in and I can see how it recognized, what it labeled everything, what it called the drawings, how it referenced this figure, and I can edit that and save that so that, if your drawings are right, your reference numbers are right, and your claims are right, your application is going to be good. I find that is very worthwhile. So as a supervisor, you have a lot of associates working for you. You basically spend your time on the claims and the figures. Your associate drafts the application, does the first read through. You get it. You do a final read through. Hopefully they caught there are some inconsistencies, and you're done. It is an incredible tool for time saving, and I think the value of the work product to the client is better because it's adding in more than you or the associate has added in. I do believe it is a little too prolific. I'm working on reducing that with customizing my prompt sequences. I do delete a lot of material because I don't believe that it's substantive, a substantive addition to the client. But it has been a tremendous change, and it is changing, I would say, weekly. The prompt sequences, we're revising those continually. Right now, I'm working on a prompt sequence for everybody to use that does a quality review. How I like the review of the application, the different review steps that I like everybody to go through to make sure that everything's covered in the application, enablement, all those sorts of things. I'm developing my own sequence for that. So Hopefully, this has been helpful to you to understand how I've used it and how I continue to use it, and hopefully this was of benefit to you.
Thank you so much, Chris. This was amazing. I know it caused such an engaged audience. We tried to answer their questions. Before we move forward to Shroot, you said something that I want to come back to. You said it took you 8 to 9 months to set up the system to make sure you're getting that quality output. And if I was in your shoes, I'd say I'm already so busy. So how did you kind of convince yourself to invest that time to set up an AI system to do the work as well as it's doing?
Yeah, so how did I justify the time? I mean, as we went through the slides, honestly, it's not that much time. And the important thing is to just get started. I mean, okay, so I have a friend, I'm not marketing one or the other, but I have a friend who uses another AI system that's not patent specific, and he has an incredible set of prompt sequences that he's all developed himself in basically a general AI tool. And it does an amazing job. But honestly, I don't have the time to invest that kind of time. So when I saw Junior and it had these sequences, you can see how I engineered those, the detailed description. Well, a lot of those were pre-designed from Junior, as I told you. Some of them are my own, and you can just drag and drop them and move them, just visual orientation, visual objects, and then get started and see how it works. And then you just go in and you simply modify it and you say, oh, this didn't work. Let me try this. And as you're drafting applications, you're fine tuning each one little by little. So it's not this huge investment of time. It's basically get started, jump in the water. Because if you don't jump in the water, and that's what I felt with AI, if I don't jump in, I don't know what tools are the best. I don't know. I just want to jump in the water and get started because it just seems like it has such a substantial change on our industry that I just want to get started. And that was the hardest step, was getting started, getting signed up with a tool and just get moving. And I'm sure this industry is going to rapidly evolve and rapidly change. And you can always make changes, stay dynamic, but getting started is the most important thing. And it wasn't that hard to get started.
Thank you so much, Chris. Now we're going to shift gears to the wonderful Shroot, and get ready, audience. I see some comments, but Shroot's going to focus on something completely different. He has built his own AI agent, so we're so excited to hear from Shroot. Off to you, Mr. Shroot.
Hey, thanks. Yuri, if you don't mind, can we jump to my second topic? I'd like to address that one first. So let's go to the demo. And then, yeah, apologies for switching the order, but I think that'll be more powerful.
And while you're doing that, I can publish the poll results from the first poll just so the panel can see. The big one was knowing what to ask and avoiding hallucinations. Those got the most votes, maybe predictably.
Okay. Yeah, why don't you go ahead and play this, Yuri, and I'll talk over it. So to everybody, let's take a step back. And what I wanted to talk to you about today was how we can all try and build custom tools using AI that can automate some of our workflows. So go ahead and play that, Yuri, please.
Of course. I want to preface this is a tool that Shroot has built on his own. It's quite phenomenal and happy to have you guys share with us. So please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So this is a tool that helps you analyze claims in a patent family. So here you entered a patent number. This is Apple's slide to unlock patent. And the AI pulls all the relevant family members. It performs a search. You can select particular patent family members. So here I selected the 103 and the 923 patent. So they're added into it together with the original 849 patent. So they're all in here. Claim one, independent claim one is listed, and the sidebar on the right shows you the inventive concept that the AI extracted from claim one. Here we're comparing, we selected two patent family members. We're looking at their independent claims. And this is on a limitation by limitation basis. So the blue color coding shows the limitations that were added, etc. This is a red line. You can switch back and forth, and you can also see a side-by-side view of the two claims at a glance. So, so let's go back to the slides. So while Yuri is loading up the slides, this is, like Yuri mentioned, a custom tool I created in about 2 or 3 hours. So how did we do that? Now, I don't know how to code. So how can somebody who can't code build working software in such a short time? That's what I'd like to show you. So next slide. Yeah. So for most of our careers, having a tool, having an idea for a tool was not very valuable in itself, right? Because what was hard was the execution. Even if you had a great idea, you needed developers, you needed budgets, you needed time to develop that. And AI has changed that, right? Because AI can help you write working software using plain English descriptions. So the challenging part isn't finding somebody who can code anymore. It's knowing what you need to be built. And here's the really fun part. I think we as patent attorneys know what we need. Developers don't, right? I mean, we live with these workflows. We breathe them. And so far, we've been living with tools built by other people who don't do our jobs. And I think that's changing. So next slide. So the development process has 3 phases: design, plan, and build. And I'll walk you through each of these. Next slide. So design phase, it's helpful to start with a good solid idea of what you want. So here I wanted a table showing patent family members with their claims. And I wanted to use AI to compare how those claims evolved across the continuations. That was the use case I wanted to address. So, we all deal with large families. This Apple's like to unlock patent families really, really large. So how do you get a handle on how the claims are evolving over time? So we start with that. And then you use AI as a thought partner. So you engage in a conversation, and the AI can ask questions that I hadn't fully thought about. So for example, should you handle pending patent applications? Should you add a feature that exports PDFs? Should you add color-coded visualization? So the idea is that you start with a crux, an original, a kernel of a concept, and then you work with AI to flesh that feature set out fully. And by the end of that process, you should have a very clearly written specification. So as attorneys, think of it like client intake, except that you're the client here. So next slide. This is equally important, and this is a concept software developers are very familiar with, which is scope creep. So AI will build whatever you ask for. So the problem is not that you can't think of enough ideas for AI to build. The problem, in my view, is focusing the specification on features that are truly necessary or essential. Because every feature that you add takes time to build, even though it's AI and can do it fast. It adds complexity, and it adds stuff that can break over time, right? So the same skills that you use when you're editing briefs, you use your judgment to cut out stuff that's unnecessary, like Chris was sharing in his earlier segment. Every additional argument that you include in a brief is something that you have to defend later on, right? So it has to be really solid. So similarly, like when you're drafting these specifications for these custom tools, you have to be very precise and careful in what you want to build eventually. So next slide. It's also really important to plan before you ask the AI to build something. So before AI writes any code, I ask it to create a plan based on the specification. So this is really, really important. And you want to have the plan should be specific enough that it's not, you don't want it to be way vague to the extent that it's just saying, in this phase of the build, I'm going to build the front end, then I'm going to build the back end. That's too high level. It's not helpful. So you want your AI to focus on really specific tasks, and that is really helpful. So in my own practice, I use Claude Code. Claude Code has skills available on the marketplace. There's one I use all the time, it's just called Superpowers. So you download it, you install it, and that superpower skill basically walks the user through the flow. Not only does it help you with the original design phase, where it helps you flesh out the feature set to build a specification, but also the plan phase. So it helps you create a really detailed plan before you send the AI off to code the stuff. So next slide. So obviously we're not developers, so it can be scary. It can be scary in the sense that what happens if something breaks? What happens if something doesn't work? I won't know how to fix it. Well, the good news is that you have this AI partner to help you. So in my own build for this tool that we demoed at the start, we found that the patents view database API stopped working, and we were getting an error. It just said that the API was discontinued. So the AI helped us diagnose the issue. It said that it found out that the patents view platform had deprecated that API, and we needed something else. So the point is that you have a really solid partner to help you to help you navigate the tough spots. So don't be scared. And you can with AI's help, you can really navigate a lot of things. Next slide. So this is something I really want you all to take away. When you're vibe coding custom tools, you're using skills that you already have as attorneys. It's applying skills you already have. So for example, the precision you bring to claim drafting, that's how you describe the requirements in the specification. The judgment you use to cut weak arguments in briefs or office action responses, that's how you cut unnecessary features in your in the tool you're building. And the way you review your associates' work in pieces, Chris was describing his workflow. He sets up a framework, the associates create the first draft, he reviews it, and then you go on from there. It's the same thing. Like, AI, think of it like a junior associate, and you review the AI's work product in batches, and you go in sequence. It's in many ways very different from traditional programming. It's like supervising a very fast, very literal assistant who is very capable. So next slide. So we showed you this in the demo. I just want to elaborate on this screenshot a little bit. So what you're seeing here is a comparison of the independent claim of the 849 patent and the 923 patent. And the yellow rows show you claim limitations that are modified. The red ones were removed going between the 849 and the 923 claim 1, and the blue rows show you limitations that were added. So there's just a tremendous lot of stuff that you can do if you're willing to create custom tools. Next slide. I think we can skip these screenshots now and just go to the final slide here. So what I want you to walk away with is that next time you're copying claims into Word and thinking there has to be a better way, there just might be. And next slide, this is the final one here. Start with something small, with something you do every week that takes longer to do than it should. And try building something and you'll be pleasantly surprised. So I find it very exciting and I hope you do too. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Shrut. What you just went through was obviously an amazing build that you've done on your own. It helps you. You're encouraging our audience to be open-minded. When you first came across these tools as an in-house counsel, what made you want to actually try it for your own and think, okay, maybe it's worth my time to learn a little bit? Because I think in the audience, there's these questions around, are we supposed to go this far with these tools? What was your take there?
Yeah, I think it's really exciting in that AI can help you build whatever you imagine to some degree. When you're working with tools that are already on the market, you are adapting to somebody else's workflow. building custom tools flips that narrative, and it allows you to customize these tools to your liking, to your proclivities, in a way that no other vendor's tool can help you. It basically understands you completely, right? So I think that customization is really unique, and the fact that you can build something like the tool I just showed you in 2 or 3 hours, it's just amazing. So once you've gone through that initial learning period and you're familiar with these tools, it just unlocks a lot of value. And I as an in-house attorney, you can see problems all across the legal department that would benefit from custom solutions like this that current products on the market are not addressing. So it's just an amazingly exciting time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I 100% agree with you. Just try it, see how far you can get. And we are seeing at a huge scale, especially in-house teams that, you're working on the same types of patents all the time. Your IP portfolio is very clear, building in-house, because it just makes sense a lot of the times to do that. So we're 100% supportive of that approach. And again, we just encourage everyone listening to us, the 500 of you, just go ahead and touch some sort of AI and see what happens. You're probably going to be impressed. Well, thank you so much, Shrut. I'm going to pass the mic to Puya, who's going to address something we've been asked about in the Q&A in the chat, which is hallucinations. So Yuri, if you can go with the slides, to Puya's slides, I think this is going to be very important for everyone listening right now. And Shrut, we're getting a lot of thank yous to you. So thank you so much for sharing what you've built with us.
Thanks, Miriam. I like to use, well, in addition to drafting, using AI to analyze prior art. And this, depending on, I always ask clients permission. Some clients don't want me to do it at all, but most clients are fine with it since prior art is public knowledge. What I like to do is upload the prior art to the LLM. And there's a few different ways to do this. If you're using ChatGPT, you can actually copy and paste the link from Google Patents into ChatGPT, and most of the time it'll analyze the patent. The other way to do it is to download the PDF and upload the PDF to the LLM. That works 90% of the time if you can select the text, if the text is searchable. If it's not searchable, then the other way to do it is print the actual web page, print a PDF, and then upload that PDF to the LLM. From there, you can ask the LLM to summarize the prior art for you. That's the first step that I generally do. It's like, explain to me what this prior art says. That's the first step. That helps you get the general idea of the prior art instead of reading the entire document yourself. From there, and this is where the hallucinations start to take place, is if the examiner has maybe cited, let's say, 5 paragraphs, you can upload those paragraphs to the LLM and say, explain what these paragraphs mean. The other way, and that usually avoids hallucinations. If you just specifically say, tell me these 5 paragraphs, summarize them for me, there's not much hallucination there. Where the hallucinations start to happen is if I take the claims and I upload the claim, let's say the entire independent claim or just a portion of an independent claim to the LLM, and after I've uploaded the prior art already, and say, does the prior art teach this element of claim 1? Most of the time it won't hallucinate, but sometimes it does. And what I've found to avoid that is you ask the LLM to show specific support. And when it says, yes, it does teach this, you say, okay, show me the paragraphs where it does. And then it'll most of the time it'll show you the paragraphs. If not, you have to take a deeper dive and say, quote the actual sections of the prior art that teach this. And then that's where you start getting into the nitty-gritty of when you ask it specifics, it will say, oh, actually it doesn't. Or, oh, here is the actual section of the prior art that teaches this. Where this gets a little harder is when it's an actual patent, not a publication, because the patents are column and line number, and the LLM has trouble finding column and line numbers, especially if you've uploaded just a web page. Junior actually does a really good job of finding the sections of a patent as opposed to a publication that it can quote the actual column and line numbers for you. ChatGPT has a hard time doing that. And if you have a non-patent literature, it's a hard time doing that as well. So for publications, it's a lot easier because the paragraph numbers are there, but actual patents, we have some trouble. But a tool like Junior or other tools I know are helpful for that. So there's two specific. After I've uploaded the entire reference and I said, let me backstep. One helpful way to prompt it is you say, pretend you're a patent attorney. I need you to help me analyze prior art. And if you have multiple prior art references, you say, I'm going to upload reference 1. This is reference 1. And then it analyzes it for you. And then you can either cite the specific section cited by examiner, or you can input the specific claim recitation and say, does this teach it? Or what does this section teach? And then like I said, you ask it to show specific support. And that's when you get into the nitty-gritty. You have to have a conversation with it. You have to pretend like it's like a junior associate and say, like I've had junior associates say, oh, the prior art doesn't teach it because of X, Y, Z. And they say, okay, show me where in the reference it actually says this. Where did you find this? Why does it not teach this? And when they show you the sections, you can say, okay, your arguments make sense. So you have to actually have a conversation and go back and forth with it. Another helpful thing that it does, and this helps save a lot of time, is when you have 103 rejections. So when you prompt it and you say, I want you to pretend like you're a patent attorney. This is reference 1, and then you upload reference 1. Then you upload reference 2, and you say, this is reference 2. Then you say, can I combine or explain to me why reference 1 and reference 2 can be combined or cannot be combined to teach this element? So let's say reference 2 is directed to reinforcement learning, and reference 1 is directed to supervised learning for machine learning. You could spend the entire time reading the applications and getting into nitty-gritty and maybe an hour of your time, but the LLM will actually take 5 minutes to say, well, reference 2 is supervised learning, reference 2 is reinforcement learning, reference 1 is supervised learning. This is why you can't combine them. And then you've gotten to the 20-yard line of your response, and then you can get down to the nitty-gritty, and you yourself analyze the prior art and come up with the arguments and get past the goal line as to why the examiner is wrong in the combination. And the next slide, I think we're going to get into it, is a tool like Junior is helpful in that you can go into different models and ask it the same question. You could do this on your own, and you can ask maybe Copilot the same question, and then ChatGPT the same question, and Claude the same question, and see if they come up with the same answers. And that's a bit of a sanity check. So if I upload the patent to Copilot and I say, does this reference teach this element? And it gives me the reasons why it doesn't, then go to ChatGPT and then see if they match, then you have a pretty solid answer. Junior allows you to do the same thing, but when you've uploaded the references, you could switch between the models. And then you say, ask GPT if OpenAI if it teaches this element, ask Claude if it teaches this element, ask Gemini if it teaches this element. And when there's an overlap, you know that you're on the right path, and then you can dig deeper yourself. So this isn't meant to replace your entire work. This is meant to get you a little bit faster in your responses. Find the weaknesses in the examiner's argument. Find arguments that you might not have found yourself. You might be able to find it after reading the reference for like 2 hours. And some of these references, if you're working with AI patents, they can get pretty dense. So this helps cut through the weeds and get you, like I said, to the 20-yard line and find arguments that you might not have found. And then from there, you take the next step and read the references yourself, look at your application and come up with the arguments. But the way, like I said, to avoid the hallucinations is have a conversation. Ask the AI to show its work. It's like when you're in high school and you have the math test. You can't just say, write the answer. You have to show your work as to how the math actually works. So you have to ask the AI, show me the specifics. Why is this? Why is that? And if it makes a mistake, what I found is helpful is you actually just say, no, you're wrong. This means this. And then it actually learns from itself and it corrects itself. Say, oh, you're right. I was wrong. And here, let me fix my argument. So there's no problem telling the AI, no, you're wrong. This is why. And then it'll correct itself. So you have to always review the work and make sure, go back and check. But it even that going back and checking saves time for the initial review that the AI did. So it's not as much of a time sink as it seems. I found that it helps cut hours from office action responses and coming up with arguments that I might not have thought of.
Thank you so much, Puya. I see there's like a lot of questions still coming in, and I know we're very short on time. I just want to close this with just a couple of tips for our audience as we have different experiences with AI. Some of us have never tried it. Some of us are building our own agents. I would say simply start chatting with the different LLMs if you're more of a beginner to get familiarized. Ask the LLM about why it hallucinates. Ask it about context windows. Ask it what it's good at and what it's bad at. Ask it to be honest. Ask it to be disagreeable. And then from there, you'll get more comfortable. It's really like driving a car. When you're learning, you're going to have someone there with you. You're not allowed to get on the road. You need to learn everything there is to know. But once you're an experienced driver and you know where you're going, you don't really think about that you're driving. You're just in autopilot. So treat AI the same way. And remember, it's very much like a human, as in it will make mistakes. So don't anticipate it being perfect. Check its work. And we hope to see you at our next session where we talk about AI prompting again. Thank you again for all of your comments. And thank you for Jean for hosting us. Jean, if you have closing remarks, we'd love to pass the mic back to you.
So, well, thank you, Miriam, and thank you, everyone, for a great presentation. I've been reading the chat, and it seems like everybody got a lot out of this. It was a lot of great practical tips and things were discussed here today. Yuri, maybe I could kick it to you to just give you one of the questions in the final couple minutes that we have that always comes up. And forgive me if this was addressed earlier. I've been trying to look at the chat, the Q&A, and other things, but with respect to confidentiality, you have in Junior a whole bunch of different AI tools that people can, try searching for this tool, that tool, that tool. So how do you guys manage the confidentiality to give people in our space the confidence?
Some folks call it a vault. Others call it a sandbox. We called it a silo. There's many takes on this. And I think what Schrute demonstrated, and I think this is a very important point. You can use these agents to build, but you need to know where, if you're putting in confidential information, what APIs and MCPs these agents have connected you to. Where is this going to be stored? And you got to be comfortable with all that. I know Claude Code lets you run on your local instance to some extent and store all your data on your hard drive. So, and a lot of comments in the chat were, hey, is this even relevant for a CLE? Well, the answer, I think, is yes. That's the direction we're moving in. It's building your own, either it's sequences like Christopher showed us, it's agents and apps like Schrute showed us, or if it's talking to the foundational models like Puya showed us. We are prompting as part of our job now. And so just be aware when you build out these agents, where are you storing? Where is this agent going to be storing? What APIs is it connecting to? Who is going to receive my information? But if you're comfortable with all that, the capabilities you can do in plain language are enormous.
Awesome. Well, great. Well, I really appreciate it, Yuri, and thank you all panel. I know that we have a video that we're going to go out to. Renee has ready to play that. So Renee, if you could cue up the outro video, and thank you all for being here.
Junior can help you build out prompts and prompt sequences to save to your personal prompt library or your company-wide prompt library. Let's begin by selecting a sample specification file, in which case I've selected a patent that I've written before. This is a published patent, and I'm uploading it into the sequencer. I determine which section of the patent I'd like to generate prompts for by selecting the section here. I choose which model and how many number of prompts I'd like to generate. I can optionally insert a specific instruction. Here I'm asking Junior to specifically focus on the sequence each method and system diagram is described. I hit Generate, and here Junior has generated 5 prompts that I can save now to my company library based on the sample specification I uploaded, a patent that I've drafted before. I could edit and modify any portion of this, but most importantly, I can choose which underlying fine-tuned model I want Junior to use. Optionally, I can choose that for this section, I'd like to use the model trained to write about operating environments. Whereas for this section, I'd like to choose the model trained for apparatus descriptions. In this way, whenever a user in my company loads this prompt or prompt sequence, they have the right fine-tuned models already chosen and optimized. Let's save to my prompt library. Systems and Methods Sequence Library created successfully. Now, I'm going to load Microsoft Word. The sequence is populated in my Junior. I could also find it here under System and Method Sequence. Everyone in my company can, if I saved it as a company-wide prompt sequence. Here we have, with all the selected parameters. I point my cursor where I'd like to begin drafting, and I hit Draft.
Great. Well, thank you once again, everyone. And I know we've gone a little bit over. Thank you for sticking with us. If you ask for a demo, Junior will follow up with you. We'll also, in the email that we're going to send out after this with the materials, we will also include a link there in case you want a demo. And if for whatever reason we didn't get to answer all the questions in the chat, we may have missed one here and there. We'll get everybody answers to all their questions. So thank you again for being here. Thank you, panelists. Thank you, Miriam and Yuri. We really appreciate it. But that's all we have for today, everyone. So we'll see you soon. Bye for now.